and I'm going to have us on gallery view. All right, and we're going to record on this computer. So good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for sort of joining us again on another soul-to-soul conversation. I'm today with Karen, who popped up into my life, and we had a conversation and we kind of got what each other was saying. So I've invited Karen to talk about being a soul, being a spirit, having a human experience, and everything that entails, to sort of make sure that we understand that this is. And so, good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for that's interesting, isn't it? So I don't really need that. I'm today with coming up Karen, who coming up into my life. So I'm doing this live on YouTube as well. So just to show you, shit happens. And sometimes there's a reason for it. It's how you handle it. And I very much talk about how you prepare the body to let spirit land in, so that you can use your own GPS system, so that you can use it for all sorts of things. Before I start blabbing, because I can blab for a long time, I wanted Karen to just introduce herself, just let us know a little bit about you, and we can just see what questions come up. Morning, Karen.
Good morning, and thank you, Fiona, for having me. Oh, something about me. Okay, well, life has been challenging, but I love it, because we're here to learn anyway. So who am I? I'm known as the manifesting lady, and I'm known that as that because I help other clients bring to their life through releasing all the negative energies they're holding on to and being able to connect back to who they truly are. And I love it. Absolutely love it. So I've been intuitive for a very, very long time. But I ignored it. And that was my stumbling block. Hence why I've had a very interesting and challenging life.
Yeah. No, exactly. I think that's it, isn't it? I mean, that's kind of, I was asked that question not very long ago. How do you know if you're an empath? And I thought, what a perfect question, because everybody is in fact sensitive. Of course, living in this day and age, this is what we are being brought in for. So how do you know that you're an empath? Well, you probably already know that you're picking up the energy when you walk into a room, or you probably already feel exhausted when you've been in certain company. But that just means that you haven't necessarily owned your own energy, or even asked what's going on before you walk in something. Your body's telling you. I had a lady recently with autoimmune disease, and when I spoke to her and I just said, look, your soul's calling you with this particular ailment, because it's just like, wake up, come and get me, stop living by me. And another lady who had disastrous episodes with her intestines, with her guts, she was abroad and everything, and even when I spoke to her, we couldn't quite get there. And then later on, it found out that, she was possibly going to be scammed. And I said, but your body knew. The doctors, your dietitians, your osteopaths, whatever's going on with your body, they can't get to the what's going on. Because it's not for them to tell you, it's for you to kind of work. It's not just like work through it. You need help to find out, okay, what is going on here? And I know I've screamed that. I bet, Karen, you've screamed like, what's going on?
Having had 3 major illnesses, I have said often enough, why is this happening? What's going on? What are you trying to tell me? Because I knew that my body was trying to communicate. But I just wasn't understanding what it was trying to tell me.
No.
Because I've had cancer, I've had an autoimmune disease, and I've also had acute pancreatitis.
Yeah.
But my body was trying to tell me. And let's just
send you an email or a text and say, hey, you've got this thought pattern, change that thought pattern, and your cancer and everything else will go away. And it's funny, I'm writing about that. I've written a book about how, I created houses and partners and those kind of things. And when my soul intervened, took my work away or took a previous partner away, and all those things were just kind of like, nah, that's not it for you. You know, and then also, you know, you get ovarian cysts or abnormal smears or sciatica for 9 months, or you gain the weight. And it's like, now I'm asking every single time I get it, what's going on here? What is it that you want? And it's just allowing yourself to hear. I remember, you'll laugh at this, I remember saying to myself, well, speak louder to me then. I was just told in such a way, it's like, well, shut up then, listen.
I've had my I went to see a just a healer just to see what was going on with my health, and I got my father coming through apparently, and he was saying, will you kindly listen, I'm trying to tell you. And it was so funny because I kept hearing things but I couldn't work out what was being said, and it was like, oh, okay, so it's you that's trying to come through. All right, I'll listen now. It's so funny though.
I know we are on the leading edge of doing things in a different way. Obviously there have been, you know, great healers and things in the past, but what I'm understanding now, what I'm being told is we're all healers. We all have the ability.
Oh yeah.
And I'm opening that up by having soul-to-soul conversations or helping ladies or men be intuitive. I mean, you hear you know, a director of Sony who's using intuition to find out if this is a good project to follow, or would that be a good project to follow? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't it be nicer to have an intuitive reaction from your barometer, from your body, that says, stay away from that person. It's not really their intention to, you know, work as the same way as you work. Let them go and work with someone else. You know, that's how sensitive our bodies are. And it doesn't have to be sitting in silence all day like a monk up a mountain. It's like, now we're living in everyday lives. We're raising families. We're trying to earn a living. We're navigating our way through life. And we get to kind of do that with spirit by our sides or inside us, or however you want to see it. How did this soul spirit come to you? Let me just ask you that way. I think you know what I mean when I say that. Yeah. Was it boom or was it?
No, I was actually born intuitive. I was born a psychic. My grandfather passed it on to my mother. I have it. My sister has it, but chooses to ignore it. My brother doesn't have it at all. But I used to play as a toddler with ghosts. I could actually see ghosts, and I still can. And I had a little boy that I used to play with. We used to go
friends,
and you know, he'd be sitting on the swings, and I'd be pushing the swing, chatting to him. That was fine. Nobody in my family found it strange. They just accepted it. I had imaginary friends, fine. It wasn't until I went to school and got told by a teacher, so-and-so's got to sit next to you. And I looked at her and said, but my friend's sitting there. Don't be so stupid. You've got nobody sitting there. Really? Okay. And I shut it down.
Yeah.
And people don't realise how much pain they cause somebody when they do it without even thinking.
This is why we have to be able to talk about it in everyday circumstances. The shit show, you know, the illnesses and the symptoms and the lack of finances. These are all wake-up calls from the soul to sort of say, there's an easier way, there's a better way. So how did it come back to you that you remembered? Let's put it that way.
Things started to happen. I'd be suddenly sitting there thinking, why did I think that? It was like, it was just this message come through, and I wasn't thinking particularly about anything. It was just this message come through, and I was thinking, where did that come from? And it's kept happening again and again and again. And it was like, okay, I'm going to follow this. Mm. And at the same time, the universe, bless it, decided to get rid of all the things that didn't serve me.
Exactly. That's what I mean about soul intervention. When that relationship that you were in goes, the work that you were in, someone else gets promoted instead of you, or you just can't stand it anymore and you think, I'm out of here. It's that jumping without a safety net, and you almost push to the brink and you think, oh my God, my life's coming to an end. And then you realize you turn a corner and you're going to go, it's a whole new world out there.
Yeah, it's all of it. World. A lot better world, definitely.
Yeah, and of course it keeps getting better the more we kind of realize that we're not the be all and end all.
No, definitely not. And I love the fact that if you listen, it's amazing the guidance you will get. Whereas if we try and think it, we screw up.
Yes. Yeah, your logic brain can't do that. But I mean, what I'm all about also is marrying the brain with the heart and soul and body, so that the brain is not so egotistical, is not so terrified of what's going to happen. It's like, do you know what, that worked out last time, so you know, we're going to try it this way again. But you know, you let me know if your reptilian brain comes in at all and you're feeling really frightened, because I need that just in case that is another sign for me as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we can't ignore what our brain knows already, because often it's learnt from the experiences we've had. So you don't want to ignore that, but at the same time, you want to still check in. Does this feel right? Or
there is a way of retraining the brain to sort of be more relaxed in and around this kind of way of thinking and doing. So a great question is, like, so how has it enhanced, benefited your daily life now that you've allowed that in? You've already said that you were ignoring it, and so you got, you know, physical conditions that really pumped you and made you kind of sit up and listen, kind of go, oh my God, what's going on? Because that for me is how it works.
Okay, so, well, I'll use the farm I'm on at the moment as a prime example. I moved down to Worthing. It didn't work out. I love being by the sea, but being down there just doesn't work for me. So I decided I needed to come back to London. So I just put the request out, find me somewhere to live that's going to be ideal, preferably with greenland around it, or somewhere I can go that's really close, that's got greenery. People, a sense of loving around the place, because I can't live in a place that doesn't feel that it wants to welcome you. And I literally, in a space of 10 days, created living on a farm. And it's phenomenal, because I sit of a morning looking out the window and I see deer. I've actually seen a mother deer pregnant, and 2 days later she comes in with 2 young. And I've watched them grow through the season. And it's like, I'm sitting there minding my own business one night and I'm thinking, you know, it'd be really nice to see an owl. And what turns up sitting on a tree? A tawny owl. So things like that. But also it's the people that I'm bringing into my life. You know, it's amazing. The old ones have been leaving gradually and the new ones are coming in. And it's like you know, you're naturally intuitive. You connect with your mind, body, soul. People like that are coming to me now. And it's gorgeous. It's absolutely amazing. So, yeah.
It's funny, my boys and I play a similar game to you when we're driving home late at night. They go, God, I'd really like to see a fox. And, you know, somebody in the car might go, you'll never see, what would you see a fox here? And then we'd only go, oh, a fox. I'm very much into, like, if animals also kind of, you know, do something strange around you or something like that, then if I don't know it, then I'll look up what that significance is. And it's like, oh, wow, yeah, I kind of get that. And then you kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
And I also find that we have amnesia sometimes, that we forget. I mean, you'll probably know this as well, of course. You know all of this. You know you have the skill, the power, the you know, the techniques to kind of get you more in with spirit. But of course, we are a spirit having a human experience. And part of that, we forget that we're spirit. And also we allow ourselves to sort of give our power away to other people, We get confused about things. Often when we're in the energy of other people, if we haven't looked after our own energy, we'll take on their energy, we'll take on their way of thinking. I know that I've tested certain energy of people when I invited them to come and work with me, and I thought, oh, my energy didn't change at all when I was looking at his energy, if he was able to come and paint and I felt safe in the house. Let me just check in with an ex of mine. I was like, oh, God, I just couldn't think straight. My body was all of a jitter. I was confused. I'm like, yeah, that's definitely what it feels like when he's in the room with me. Whew, come back to me. Check in with another ex. And, my energy was like, whoa, yeah, he's really laid back. He's very willing and happy and easygoing. Like, yeah, that's definitely his energy. Go into the energy again of the guy that I was going to invite into the house. Nothing changed in my body, so I invited him. And he was just the nicest guy. Mm. Everything went really smoothly. I didn't have to change who I was at all. And by the end of the evening, we were saying, Fiona, is there anything else I can do for you before I go and have a shower and we'll, have something to eat? And he'd help me cook and stuff. I just tell stories. And I was like, you can feel that. You have the ability. And I remember somebody, trying to teach me healing and stuff like that. And I needed a little bit more structure at the time because my mind was very structured. So I went and learnt Reiki, and I ended up going to South Africa. And that was like a whole different synchronicities falling into place. Somebody saying this and ringing this woman and never answering. And I was writing in my journal, God, this woman is so impossible to get hold of. I thought, oh, hang on a second. Change what I'm saying. I wrote in my journal, this woman is so easy to get hold of. Bang, my phone rang and she was ringing me back. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we forget, don't we, when we're around people who have a very strong influence on us. I grew up with a very strong personality as a mother. It was my mother, but I remember also swinging to the grass and singing and being intuitive. Of course, that was squashed. But given me lots of other experience from that kind of relationship, we chose each other. Was there a significant moment that you can remember that kind of blew you away more than any other?
I think it must have been the day that I realised that my autoimmune disease was in my control. Brilliant. What had happened, I was under the hospital and it was quite an unknown illness. Normally you get it as a 4-year-old child. I was in my 40s. As a 4-year-old child, you probably had maximum of 2-3 years once you had it before you died. And it was like, why have I got this? What is it about this that I've created this for myself? What am I trying to sort of learn? And interestingly, the doctor who was in control of my case gave me antibiotics. Unfortunately, instead of giving me 200 milligrams a day, she gave me 800. So my body literally reacted within a space of a week from being fairly healthy. Yeah, it was attacking itself for a reason, but it was fairly healthy, to diving totally into a rash, headaches, feeling sick, unable to eat food, you name it, I had it because my body had been poisoned. And it was interesting. I actually spoke to the doctor and said, what's going on? And she said, oh, I don't know. And then I said, well, I've been taking these tablets you've given me and I just seem to be reacting more and more to them. And she said, oh my God, I think I've realized I've given you too many. And it was like, why are you trusting doctors? Why aren't you listening to yourself? And it was like, okay, thanks very much. I'm going to solve this problem myself. And from that moment on, I stopped the autoimmune. I didn't need it because I'd actually learnt the lesson.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, exactly. I totally and utterly, this is everything that we talk about, isn't it? So it's the moment you make that decision. I remember I made a decision about, I was selling a house. People were looking around it. They were saying, oh, this room is dark. We'd knock this wall down. And then they left. I went, damn it, I don't want to sell someone my house to someone who's going to knock it about. My house is a representation of me. There's nothing wrong with my house. I want someone to love this house as much as I do. The house had been on sale with agents who didn't want the price that I wanted. They kept saying it wasn't, the price that they would sell it for. I sold the house that weekend to a lovely family who gave me my asking price. No agents, no fees, nothing. And the same as when, you talking about how the body is, how the body speaks, because the body does speak.
Oh, yeah.
And how I had sciatica, 9 months going to kinesiologists, having clicks and stretches and electrodes, everything else. And I was just like, do you know what? No one is going to be able to do anything with this. It's me. And I've known that before with other ailments, but sometimes you think, I need some help here. When you're trying to lift your head off the pillow or put your pants on and you're falling over because you're so wobbly. It's like the only person who's going to fix this is me. What is going on? What is my thought pattern? What am I able to change and fix? I changed the story where I was throwing daggers at my ex, resenting him for not taking care of the boys and all that kind of story. Changed the story, just went, he's a good dad, he's a nice guy, this is working, this is going to get better. I'm perfectly capable, actually, of raising my own kids. I don't need help from anyone else. Okay. My sciatica disappeared within practically a couple of days. A year later, I was having the conversation about why I was in France, a single mom with 2 young boys. My sciatica came back that afternoon. And I went, oh! And I asked my body, is that because I've been repeating the same story? And then my body just went, yes. And I was like, okay. So that afternoon, got back into the energy, changed the story. Sciatica went by that evening. And I'm blown away every single time something happens. And I've made a decision now to be intuitive every single day, to do with my work, my clients. It takes a different way of thinking about things. It takes a different way of, what do I want out of this? How do I want to set this up?
Definitely.
But it is playtime. It is playtime to be able to create something that you don't think is possible.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can create in that area of our lives, but we're not able to create in another area of life because we just have too strong a belief or a fear of actually getting what we say we want. Why don't you want what you want?
Yeah.
I find it fascinating.
Yeah, and I feel very much that we are taken places or connect with people for a reason. Obviously, everything we do in our life is a reason.
No coincidence.
Yeah, and I was brought here because the land needed to be loved. And because it's a building site, basically, the owner of it has got authority or the permission to build 11 houses on what's already been built on. That's fine. But he's not looking after the rest of the land. He's ignoring it. And it needs looking after. So, I was brought here and it's like, can't let this continue. Can't let this continue. Literally, COVID arrived. So the builders aren't doing any work. That come to a grand standstill. And it's now a situation where basically the land is stating, you're staying, you're not going. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, so how do I manage to get all of this land so it can be managed? So it is making things happen that are creating a situation where the builder, the developer, is likely to turn around and say, don't want it, it's too much problem.
Isn't it interesting that it's never just about the business, or it's never just about your body, it's never just about where you live, it's kind of, or the relationships that you have. Everything is a relationship to you, to your soul, to who you really are. it's just such a beautiful journey. And I know that I've ended up living in France, and I'm like, why on earth would I end up living in France? But I was traveling and I didn't feel at home in the UK anymore. And I was like, okay, I had this perfect day scenario in my head about, I knew what the light was like, I knew what the garden would be like. And by magic, I found that house to bring my kids up. Of course, I've moved out of that house now, and you know, but I'm in France and I'm thinking it doesn't always have everything to do with me, but my kids have got something to do with that too. And we ended up living in a village where there was the Inquisition and the trials for 600 witches who were then sentenced to drowning. And I'm like, there is no coincidence there that I have repetitive dreams when I was younger of drowning. And like you, when I was younger, I knew that witches were in my room, and I was hiding under the bed covers, and people always find me in the morning. My mum would find me in the morning under my bed covers, and because I was taught that witches were scary. But now that I've done past life work and all the rest of it, I'm just like, oh my God, you know, all she was doing was like herbs and trying to, you know, doing what we're doing is just saying there's another way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And I believe that everybody that I meet in this life is here for a reason. We've had another life before. We've met before. It's just such a beautiful way of looking at life rather than the survival mode to get into another mode. And what are your thoughts about why everything's happening now? I don't just mean COVID or lockdown. I mean, you know, where are we on the evolution of the population on the planet?
Well, I follow the planetary positions in numerology. I don't have a great deal of knowledge on it, but I do follow it. And I do know that what's happening with regards to the planet and the planetary positions is 4,000 years ago, there was a stallion where certain planets lined up and such like. We are being put in a position where the old has to go. For too long, we have been damaging our earth, our homes, our environment. We've been allowing others to, I want to say bully.
Dictate, I just had the word come in.
Dictate and control for greedy reasons as much as anything. And it's like, no, this can't continue. This has to change, which is why I'm feeling that so many more people are becoming aware that they are spirit and they have that ability to connect with their soul and create things from that place of love and respect, rather than, you know, being forced down and just accept what you're told. So yeah, very much so.
My whole perception in what I am told by whoever, intergalactics, however you want to call them, is the evolution of the population that is coming through right now. Yeah. So you are creator beings, you are spirits having a human experience. And yes, at the same time, you are here having a very human life. What has to go now is the very low vibrations that live in our body. Hence why an awful lot of people have an awful lot of ailments that are just, Fiona, I've been to the doctor and no one can tell me what's wrong with me. We've done all the scans, we've done all the internals, there's nothing. I'm like, keep talking. And we need
soul come up and say hello.
Yeah, we're needing to prepare the body for something better. And that means it's like just polishing that up and getting rid of that and letting it go. And don't hold on to the energy that is just, it's stopping maybe the nasty energy that you're frightened of, but it's, oh my God, it's stopping so much love, it's stopping so much joy. You're stopping all sorts of energy coming in and flowing through you. So long as you hold on to that identity and that the energy, the fear, the hurt, the blame, the grief, the shame, the embarrassment, all the lower vibrations, we are being told not to live with those inside us anymore. It's like, you can just forget about it. It's like, okay, that happened to you, but you know what? It happened to millions of other people across the planet too, to help them wake
We've got
up.
to acknowledge that we're powerful beings and not keep giving our power away to what we've used to, isn't it? Basically, because
I'm being asked to ask you.
away,
I'm being asked to ask you in this precise moment, what does it mean for you to be powerful? Because I know that an awful lot of people think, don't want to be that powerful, don't want that superpower. It's like, ooh. For myself as well, because it also kind of brought up the history of witches and all the rest of it and being persecuted. So bringing your head up of the parapet, what does it mean for you to be powerful?
For me, being powerful means that I take control of my life. I listen to myself. I don't let other people dictate to me what should be. I also feel that being powerful empowers others because you lead by example rather than sort of following or sort of making people do things that you wouldn't necessarily do for yourself. When you're powerful, you can show people the way, you can give them the power to themselves.
And you're living by example then.
We're here to give people back their power, to acknowledge that they are that spiritual being and have that ability to be a powerful person within their own right and not rely on other people to give them their power.
That takes tremendous trust, and I'm being asked to ask you, how do you trust yourself?
I've learned through my many life experiences that when I don't trust myself, I screw up. So now it's time to actually recognize that I don't need to screw up. I can actually accept what is being given to me, what I'm being guided to do, what's happening around me, and it's always happening because it's the time it needs to happen.
So it really has nothing to do with you per se.
No.
What would you advise someone who wanted to get in touch more with their soul, their intuition, which is what we're talking about here?
I find journaling helps. I also have a tendency to go to bed of a night time and say, okay, you've got my mind for tonight. Tell me what I need to know. So tomorrow when I wake up, I know what you're wanting me to do, because I very much believe we are in control of our lives, but at the same time, we can be guided to take the actions that bring the best results.
Yeah, for the common good.
For the common good. So yeah, go to bed of a night time. Okay, thanks for a brilliant day, regardless of how it's been, because it has been brilliant, because I've learned something from it, I've gained something from it, I've done something that I perhaps wouldn't have done, whatever. And then I simply go to bed and say, okay, I'm going with a clear mind. You come and guide me, what I need to know, what I need to do, who I need to meet even, and just let it go and go to sleep.
How does it feel in your body knowing that you have that kind of, not just internal support, but that kind of safety net to fall back on? What changed, if you think in comparison to when you had the autoimmune or when you had other things going on? What's the difference about how it feels in your body?
My heart belongs to me. It's mine. I can feel it. I can sense it. My body tells me when something's wrong in a way that doesn't mean I have to be ill. It can tell me, I don't get headaches, but every now and then I get a twinge and I'm thinking, okay, so what's going on? I'm tired. Acknowledge I'm tired. I need to rest. And I don't beat myself up, because when we're in business, we think we have to do. But actually, sometimes we just have to sit back and relax and just let whatever needs to happen before you then take action. to happen.
Mm.
So being able to connect back to my heart and listen to the higher self, to source, whatever you want to call it, has given me the ability to recognize myself as a spiritual being, but also as a human being. So, yeah.
Would you say, all right, so what are the key benefits then, would you say, to knowing that you are spirit, having a human experience, if it was to do with, well, everything, you know, business, body, beloved? I mean, so what are some of the key benefits for you?
For me, I know I have a choice. Business-wise, I now know what I'm supposed to do. Whereas before it was like, oh, should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? Now I know what I'm supposed to be doing. Obviously, my body communicates with me, so I don't need to be ill. In actual fact, I'm amazed how healthy I am. I do need to work on the weight, but I'm also acknowledging that has a lot to do with the fact that I have not had contact with many people like everyone else. And we need that physical contact. I love my hugs. I miss my hugs. So I know that's to do with that. But I also feel that being a spiritual being as a human has opened me up to recognizing that I don't have to do everything for myself. I haven't got a significant other, but I'm happy with that. The time isn't right for me, and I recognize that. So it's not, oh, I've got to. It's just stepping back and recognizing this is where I am at the moment. This is what I need at the moment. When the time is right, I will bring that person in. So,
would you say you had any particular hurdles in your everyday that you have yet to overcome?
Yeah. Finances. I'm getting better at managing my finances. And amazingly, I've worked for a bank.
Isn't that fun?
So I should know how to manage my money. But it's not so much the managing of the money, it's trusting that it can flow in and out.
I think that's so perfect. That's such a good example, because you have everything else you trust and you sort out. But when it comes to one other thing, it's just not been created yet. So it's just allowing yourself to create that. I mean, I work with women who are mega rich, who are really just such self-made women. You know, maybe their body isn't reflecting that because they really don't know how to think about that aspect of their life. So we all have humanness, human failings, if you like, or human lessons to learn, or just, well, I know how to do it with that, so why don't I apply it to that?
Yeah.
And there's just, you know, there's a lot to deal with being a human, you know.
Definitely.
There's a lot to deal with.
Yes, definitely.
So, brilliant. Thank you for being so honest, because I mean, this is what we're here for, you know. Things do go wrong, and I do still get, you know, things happening with my body like you that kind of say, pay attention.
Yeah.
I had a hip ache or something like that. It must have been at the beginning of the year. And I was like, I feel like I'm 100 years old. I can't walk around the block with my kids and I can't be active. And for me, it's very important to be active, to run with the kids, do silly stuff. Like yesterday, they were teaching me how to rollerblade. I said, I want to teach my body something new. So when I had this hip ache, I'm just like, oh my goodness, what is that about? And I'm exhausted and everybody's off school and work because of the COVID. But I'm international. I'm on behind the computer, so that's why. So I sit there and I think, oh, I could do with a break. Okay, well, tomorrow I'll have a break then. So I'm sitting there and I'm meditating and I'm asking specific questions, because it's not just a question of zoning out. It's like, what is it that you specifically want to ask? What is it that you want feedback on? So I'm saying, what is it that would be the best thing for me to do? Write your book, 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 write your book. I'm like, I'll write my book then. So the next day, spent the whole day sitting, thinking my hip's going to really hate this, writing my book. By the time I go for a walk in the evening with the kids, my hip is 90% better.
Mm-hmm.
And I suffered with my hip for over a week.
Yeah.
And it goes.
Yeah. Funny enough, with the COVID situation, because I live on a farm, there's very few people around. Yeah. So it was a case of, well, you've got peace and quiet, just get on with it. So I used to take my computer down into the garden, and I had the instructions that I had to write a book, 15 chapters in 15 days. I was even given the title, How to Be Imperfectly Perfect. And they gave me the chapters. They literally gave me the titles of the chapters. And I would just sit there and I would just type. And the words just come. I wrote 15 chapters in 15 days, and I sat there and looked at it and thought, oh, wow. I've never ever done that.
No.
I've never been able to just sit and type. And I was absolutely amazed that not once did I think, God, my body's aching.
No.
Having spent something like 7 hours just sitting.
I know.
And it was just an amazing experience.
I thought this book was going to be about something, and it's about the evolution of the population and how we are creative beings and blah, blah, blah. Later on, I got these channeled informations coming through, and I was able to ask specific questions to kind of get what they're in the book as well. You know, these channeled informations that I saw as dragons, because I'm a year of the dragon, and I kind of love the fantasy part of it. And at the time, just before, I'd been led to read the series of books again that had dragons in there. And I'm like reading it going, wow, is that possible for us as humans? And I just got a yes, because it was all about magic. And I was like, whoa, okay. So is that possible for us as humans? And every now and again, something springs back to me about something that was in the book. And I'm like, wow, that is possible. But because it's out of our imagination, because we're so educated in such a way, we can't create it because we haven't allowed ourselves to imagine that could possibly be possible. So that's such a great marriage, isn't it? As we evolve as a population. And no wonder Harry Potter and an awful lot of the, unicorns are the thing at the moment for all the girlies anyway. Showing you that just there's magic everywhere.
Well, I love the cards in the tarot deck, the Magician. The deck I use is the Mystical, and you literally got a gentleman standing there with all the symbols of the tarots in front of him, and then he's got one arm pointing upwards and one arm pointing downwards, and that sums it up totally, because if we trust, we can create, and we can create into our reality, rather than thinking, oh, well, yeah, I can think it, but it's not going to come into reality. And it's just such a beautiful symbol for somebody to recognize that you've got to trust to allow.
Yes, and also you've got that kind of like, I say that you're on this harp string, you just twang it and you're connected right up to source, into the heavens, with all the knowledge that's up there, and you're connected right down onto the planet where you are now. And if you breathe all of that through as a body whisperer, that's certainly what the techniques is, to sort of read the body and feel what's going on and what's going on in there. So absolutely perfect. Karen, thank you so much for today. It just allows us to talk about absolutely everything. And if we could do this around the kitchen table. But putting the worlds to rights and just showing that it's normal. It's normal. If some of the key business players out there are using intuition to serve them to know which project would be best for them to follow, to invest in. Richard Branson's, the directors of Sony, and so many smart, self-made people are using intuition as their guide.
What a difference the world would be.
Yeah, I asked a question out there recently about, what would the world be like if we, in the next phase of our life, if we didn't have doubt, if we just were soul and intuitive, and the feeling in my body was like, whoa, that is amazing. I mean, my kids, their generation are going to be so different. So it's the next generation. And I say to my kids, you're going to be doing work that we cannot even imagine right now. I could never imagine that I'd be doing this as a job when I was their age. I said, so, I trust and believe that that is what you're here for. And that's why I'm your mum, because they already know their souls. One I introduced to his soul through like shamanistic journeying, and he came out with his soul. And I'm like, do you still talk to him? Do you still ask? He said, oh yeah, mum, all the time. And my other son just said he was walking through the woods with us, and this little voice said, hello. And he was like, he was 7, so the next generation have so much more ability than us to understand that they have access to phenomenal knowledge and intuition and magic.
Yeah.
Karen, thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording now, but I hope to see you again and continue this conversation as the years and the months and everything go on, because that's what we're here for, to sort of just see how this evolves. So thank you again for having a soul-to-soul conversation with me.
Thank you so much. It was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I like doing these, and I've met some people via Instagram and things as well.
Live? You're showing still live.
Oh, really? Well, I turned it off.